You don't need all this land. That's what my father said as he reached for the butter dish like he hadn't just dropped a bomb in the middle of my Sunday. It was a crisp fall morning. Sunlight cutting through the windows of the farmhouse I'd rebuilt with my own hands. The table was set with fresh sourdough, eggs from my hens, and heirloom tomatoes I picked before dawn. I'd invited them out of habit, still clinging to the idea that family meant something. I'm Amanda, 32, single, no kids, just me, a pair of calloused hands, and 100 acres of organic soil my grandfather left me. And apparently, according to the people sipping my coffee and eating my food, that was 100 acres too many. You don't even use the back 40, my father said. Wiping his mouth like this was a casual suggestion. I blinked. What are you talking about? Katie, my perfect sister with her salon blonde hair and magazine family, tilted her head like I was being difficult. We just thought, since your business is already thriving, maybe you'd be open to sharing. My kids need space to grow. Her kids, always her kids, like they were sacred vessels, and I was just dirt. I laughed, short and sharp. So you want me to hand over the land Grandpa gave me that I've spent 5 years restoring? Mom reached for my hand, the one she never used to hold mine when I needed it most. Sweetheart, it's not about taking anything. It's about what's fair. Katie has a family, and I have a farm. I snapped, jerking my hand away. You think that happened by accident? You think squash harvests itself? That's when Dad dropped the next hammer. We've already spoken to a builder. Katie's house would go up where the orchard ends. It's mostly wild brush. Amanda, the paperwork's in progress. The room went silent except for the clink of my mug hitting the table. You already promised it to her, I said, my voice hollow. Without asking me. You'll still have more than enough, Katie chirped. More than enough. I stood up slowly, chair legs groaning against the old wood floor. The kind of silence that carries a warning settled over the room. Get out. Mom blinked. What? Get out of my house? I didn't yell, didn't cry, just stared until the weight of my fury did the work for me. Dad stood slowly, lips tight. Katie scoffed, flipping her perfect hair. You're overreacting. It's not like you even. Out. When the door slammed shut behind them, the silence that followed felt cleaner, honest, but my hands trembled as I cleared the plates. They weren't done. They never came to ask. They came to take. The next morning, I woke with fire in my blood and dirt under my nails. I barely slept. I'd spent the night rereading Grandpa's will, rereading my own title deed, and convincing myself that surely my family wouldn't be that reckless. I was wrong. It started with the distant grumble of a machine. At first, I thought it was a neighbor's tractor. Then the vibration hit the floorboards. Something heavy. Something wrong? I grabbed my boots, still unlaced, and sprinted outside. My mouth went dry. There, in the middle of my damn sunflower patch, sat a bulldozer. My father was in the cab, looking disgustingly comfortable. My garden beds were already ripped wide open, yellow petals crushed into the soil like confetti at a funeral. Katie stood beside him in a tailored coat, holding blueprints like some smug contractor. Mom hovered near the truck with 2 thermoses of coffee, overseeing it all like this was a school bake sale. You're trespassing, I yelled, my voice cracking. Dad cut the engine, climbed down like a king. Amanda, calm down. This is happening, whether you like it or not. We didn't want to surprise you, but you left us no choice. No choice. My voice trembled with rage. You broke onto my land and demolished my crops. This is my livelihood, my home. Katie didn't even flinch. You brought this on yourself when you shut us out. You think just because Grandpa gave you the deed, it means you get to hoard it forever. I felt the breath leave my body. You already told the builders to start, didn't you? Foundation gets poured next week. I laughed cold, ugly. Then I hope you brought a good lawyer. I turned, marched back into my house, grabbed my phone and tripod, and walked straight back out. My hands were shaking as I hit record. Today, September 18th, I said, my voice steady despite the war in my chest. My family illegally entered my land, destroyed active gardens, and began unauthorized construction. Dad cursed. Katie waved her arms. I didn't stop. I got it all. My father's bulldozer tracks, the torn earth, The sunflowers flattened like a broken promise. Then I called the police. "You're calling the cops on your own father," Katie screeched. "No," I said. "I's never leaving hers. I'm calling the cops on a criminal trespasser." They were still yelling when the sirens wailed down the gravel road. The officer took one look at my deed, the damage, and Dad's smug expression, and told him to get off the machine. My parents tried to smooth talk their way out of it. Katie cried and said I was ruining the family. I didn't care. I stood there in my muddy jeans and torn flannel shirt, the scent of crushed basil and diesel in the air, watching them realize I wasn't the quiet daughter anymore. That land was my blood, and they had just declared war. They served me papers 2 days later, Katie's name at the top, petitioner claiming the land had always been promised to her, that I was just holding it temporarily until she and her children were ready, that Grandpa said it often, and that Mom and Dad would testify to it. I sat at the kitchen table, the paper trembling in my hand. My hands were dirty from digging up what little I could salvage from the bulldozer damage. Dirt crusted under my fingernails, the smell of torn roots still fresh in my nostrils. They didn't just want a piece of the land anymore, they wanted all of it. My lawyer, Clint Rojas, a sharp, no-nonsense local, read the suit, then looked at me with a sigh. "They're coming for blood. This is more than property now. This is pride, inheritance, maybe even revenge." I nodded, silent, but inside, I was screaming. So I fought back the only way I could, with the truth. I went through Grandpa's old boxes in the attic. I found letters he wrote me, some from his hospital bed, praising the work I was doing on the land. One of them said, "Don't let them guilt you out of this. It's yours, Mandy. All of it." I saw what they did when I was alive. I see clearer now. I found a USB drive with video clips I'd forgotten about. Grandpa at the edge of the pasture, pointing out the new compost rows, saying, "This one's got the grit. She'll outwork them all." And the final piece, a notarized letter from 5 years ago, tucked in my filing cabinet. Grandpa had written it as a backup, just in case someone got ideas. He stated, in plain ink, that Amanda Rose Bennett was the sole intended owner of the full 100-acre property. We filed it all with the court the night before the first hearing. I drove the perimeter of the farm in my truck. Every fence post, every irrigation line, every leaf was a piece of me. I didn't just live on this land, I was this land. I thought about the birthday parties Katie had hosted in the city, how Mom bragged about her successful daughter in real estate. I thought about the way Dad looked at me like I was a phase. But I wasn't a phase, I was a root. And I wasn't leaving. The morning of the court hearing, I wore boots, not heels. I wore jeans, not a suit. And I walked in holding Grandpa's letter, like it was a torch in the dark. I wasn't the one who should be afraid. They were.